Max Holloway knocked out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 in one of the most impressive finishes in UFC history. See what fighters thought of his performance in the latest edition of MMA Pros React.
Oh man, that last 10 seconds, he was up on all the scorecards, up pretty much 4-0 going into that last 10 seconds or 5-0 all the rounds. But just going out there and leaving like anything could have happened. But that's what makes him one of the best.
Max Holloway is a fan favourite. Everybody loves him. And I'd spoke about this fight when it was first made, and I was like, I think it's a horrible fight for Max. When I look at what Justin Gaethje did to Poirier, and I look at his previous records against opponents, he's violent, he's got power, he's got skill, his striking is next level, and I just thought that size and that weight was going to be too much for Max. I was sitting there on Saturday night watching it live, and I was eating my own words because Max Holloway is an absolute phenom. His ability to control the space, his ability to move, hit, and then ultimately he was winning that fight. Like, he didn't have to stand in the middle on point to it and look to have this sort of lottery, if you will, because that's what it comes down to. Two guys swing. If Justin Gaethje catches him, then it might have been the other way about. But Max Holloway has the minerals, and he showcased why he is one of the fan favourites, why he is going to be in the Hall of Fame in a few years' time.
Well, that was beautiful. Like, it wasn't no, actually that wasn't even a co-main event, but but the energy we had took off that, it just made you forget about the strawweight title fight. It's just because that was such a crazy fight, and with that finish, I felt such a dump of energy that like I kind of sit on my couch ecstatic for the co-main event, just like what kind of trying to catch air and what the just going on. That was impressive.
Yeah, I had Holloway winning that fight. Insane fight, man. Insane fight for both of them. Obviously, you hate to see a loser there fighting for the BMF belt and everything, but I mean, you want to talk about the type of guy that Max Holloway is, to be up on the scorecards, to know that you're going to win that fight and you don't give a shit. You still stand in the middle of the octagon, point down and say, let's go. Unreal. And like, listen, I follow a lot of sports. I'm going to put that, I mean, it's got to be up there. Like, I get Duke, Kentucky back in the day, Christian Laettner, but like, that's one of the greatest buzzer beaters of all time right there in any sport.
Yeah, man, it was, I felt like Gaethje wasn't doing what Gaethje normally does. I felt like this was another Gaethje. He was a little too patient. I know he did that with the Tony Ferguson fight, and they looked great, but he was not putting as much output as I even wanted. Like, I was yelling at the TV, like, yo, bro, you got to put, more together, and he played at Max Holloway's range. And we all know you play at Max range, he's deadly, man. And then this was like one of the most like best Max Holloways I've ever seen. Like, all his shots were good. His spinning back kick was dirty. He did what he had to exactly do to win this fight, and then we all know what's up when he points in the ground, like someone's gonna go out, and I thought for a second, like, oh man, maybe Gaethje could rock him and win the round, and it will be ours. But man, it was just Max's time, and his timing, his boxing was a lot tighter, and he got one of the best knockouts I ever seen, and man, I'm just glad to help a guy to be in the fights of history and stuff like that. But everything goes back to who won, and then fix whatever we gotta fix, and hopefully he can go back and fight for it again.
That if that fight would have been a little bit closer, that would probably have beaten the 7-bar force script. But since it was kind of one-sided, I think it was just such an amazing performance on Max's part. And I was like watching the fight, and I was very into it. I was like, oh my god, they're slugging it out. Like, what's Max doing? Like, just sitting there, they're like going at the end. I'm like, dude, he's already had 4 rounds. Like, that's crazy. And then when he dropped him, I was like, no way. Like, 2 seconds left, and then it was like 1. I was like, oh my god. Like, I couldn't believe it, man. I had a video on my story. I freaked out. Like, I mean, I could not believe. I couldn't believe it, man.